As we're getting started tonight, I encourage everyone to keep their sound and their video muted. But if you have a question or a comment, use the chat function, and we'll be glad to try to answer those questions as we go along. But we're going to have a large number of people, so we want to keep it as focused and fast moving as we can. Get a lot done in the hour and a half that we have scheduled for that. For those that don't know me, my name's Mark Teagle. I'm the UIC for District 44. I'm joined tonight by Jim Molaris, also a redshirt umpire here, and we're going to be your instructors for tonight. And we'll get started in just about 2 minutes. All right, Jim, our district administrator has joined.
Oh, and we're ready to go.
Up to 37 people. All right, just a few more seconds and we'll get going. All right, well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 Little League Rules Clinic for District 44. My name is Mark Teagle. I'm the UIC for District 44. I'm joined by fellow redshirt umpire Jim Molaris, who is going to be instructing with me tonight. And a special thanks to Jim, who prepared the slides for tonight, worked on all the material. And I just tag along and pretend like I know stuff. Jim, you want to say hi?
Yeah, hi, everybody. Welcome to our second night, and welcome back if you were with us last week.
And if you missed last week, it is available on YouTube. You can just search District 44 Rules Clinic and it'll pop up, or there's a link on our Facebook page, and I think also on our website. So you can just take a look for that. But that'll help you catch up. Just a couple reminders. We want to keep your video off and your audio off, your microphone and your camera. That just allows us really focus. We're kind of in presenter mode, but be sure to use the chat. You can put questions and comments in there if you're having any issues. Just let us know. Jim and I are both monitoring that chat feature, and we should be able to do that. We're also going to do a couple of scenarios so you have a chance to vote, and that just is a way to kind of keep you engaged as we're going along. All right, so what we covered last time, we covered the new rules, and I encourage you to really look at those because there are a bunch of new rules this year that really focus on lineups, pace of play. We talked about the COVID-19 protocols as best we understood them. This is changing. The county and the state are giving us new information as we go along, and each league is going to have requirements for you, the safety officer. So be aware of what your league is asking. We talked about what is a pitch and things about the pitchers. We talked about the rules for batting, including the lineup options of continuous batting order and where the batter should be standing in the batter's box. We talked about the definition of ball strike, foul ball, foul tip, and intentional walk. We also covered bunt, fair ball, foul ball, catch, no catch, and everyone's favorite, the infield fly rule. So that was last week. And tonight we're going to start out with talking about runners. So we, in the rules, we have a batter, runner, and then we have runners. So once the batter puts the ball into play, he becomes a batter runner. And then when they start out from a base, they are called a runner. So we're going to talk a little bit about now this new rule for courtesy runners. So if you are, it's for the catcher and or the pitcher.
My girlfriend just called me, and
there, we're and it has to be when there are 2 outs, and so you can't have somebody like say, oh, well, this person's going to pitch next inning, and so I'm going to courtesy run for them. They have to be the actual pitcher of record in order to be eligible to be run for as the courtesy runner. And that person is somebody who's not in the batting order, or if you have a continuous batting order, you use the player that made the last out. So it just allows you to speed up the game, have that catcher, that pitcher getting ready for the next inning. The regular rule that we're used to is called the special pinch runner rule. Sometimes we call it SPR, and that's in 7.14. And it means that a player that is not in the lineup may be utilized as a runner for any offensive player, but you cannot use it for continuous batting order games because every player is in the lineup if you're using continuous batting order. All right, and next we're going to talk about the runner's lane. Take a look at that. This is the last half of the distance between home plate and first base. So on a 60-foot field, that's a 30-foot lane. On a big field, 90 feet, it's going to be 45 feet. It's 3 feet to the right of the foul line, and the lines are part of that lane. The rule is to protect the fielder receiving the throw at first base. It doesn't protect the thrower, and it doesn't protect you if you don't throw and if you make a bad throw. It needs to be a quality throw, and if by running outside the runner's lane, that batter runner gets in the way of whoever's receiving the throw at first base from receiving a quality throw, then it is an immediate dead ball. The batter runner is out. And because it was an interference play, all of the other runners return to their time of pitch base. So we have a great video of a play here. I think that's coming up. Here's a couple of dance steps here to mark where your feet can be. You can be on the line and still be considered to be in the lane. So if you have both feet within the runner's lane or on the lines, like that top person there where it says okay, that's legal. But if either one of their feet is outside of that, either to the left or to the right, and they interfere with the receiving of a quality throw at first base, then that batter runner needs to be called out. And that's why you can trail that runner. Here's a video of a major league game, and watch what this umpire does. He's in perfect position.
3-1. Arencibia hits one off the end of the bat. It trickles up along first, fielded by Big CC. Turn, throw it, and hits the back of Arencibia. And Arencibia is called out because he was running on the inside of that 45-foot lane. And so with that, 1 down.
Now I have to say, for Mark Carlson, the home plate umpire, he put his nose right on this play, trailing up the first base line. And if ever an umpire tried to get in a good position to make a call, it was Mark Carlson with this play. And I think he got it right.
All right. So I think he got it right too. And It's about positioning and being in a position. But you'll also see that everybody on the offense thought he got it wrong, and everybody on the defense thought he got it right. But that's casebook runner's lane interference. So we're going to talk about now the base path and the base line. When a runner is running without anything else going on, they make their own base path. There's no restrictions on where they can run. They can make a nice looping path toward the next base so that if they're rounding, they can go that way. But once they a tag is attempted on them, then the baseline gets established, and that is a straight line from that runner to the base they're attempting to reach. And so in this case, once that fielder has the ball and the runner goes more than 3 feet from that baseline, then they are out. They don't have to chase them all over the place. They can go 3 feet, which is, like a step and a half, one side or the other, but they cannot go more than 3 feet out of that to avoid being tagged. Now, as they maybe get in a rundown, that baseline may change. It gets reestablished every time there is a tag about to be made or a tag attempted. And so they may wiggle all around because each time they turn around, and while there's not a tag being made, they can be any place they need to be. And keep in mind that they cannot be running away to avoid that tag. Now, if they are avoiding a fielded or the fielder fielding a batted ball, that's okay. They can go because that's not a tag attempt, right? They are avoiding interfering with the defense on that play, and that is not going 3 feet out of the way to avoid a tag. So there's some important distinctions that are there. All right, let's go.
Right side, Spoon giving chase, makes the catch. Here comes Coleman from third. The throw to the plate. Coleman. They battle. Coleman trying to get back to the plate. Call him out. What a weird play at the plate to end the inning.
He was tagged
Coleman
out
avoided
anyway,
the tag the
but
first time, went back
if he
behind
go
the
more
plate,
than
then
3
tried to come
feet
back
out
and tag the
of the
plate.
way there. All right, so on that play, you're just watching, he's making his baseline to come back toward the plate. And once he went more than 3 feet out of his baseline, he can be called out even without being tagged. All right. So going on to the definition of a force play. Okay. So Jim, let's see. I want to make sure we're going on. There we go. So we're going to talk about what a force play is. And once the ball is put into play, a runner loses his right to occupy a base if he needs to vacate that base for the batter runner or for another runner coming from behind him. So if there's a runner at second, but nobody at first, they're not forced. But if a runner is at first, the batter puts the ball in play, becomes a batter runner, that forces them to, they lose their right to occupy that base and they need to move on to that next base. Note that the force may be removed or restored during a play. So if, for instance, first base is tagged, the runner that started there is no longer forced because the batter runner is out and he could return back to first if he wanted to. or could try to do that. He's no longer forced to go on to second. So that
Wind's
you
picked
need
up,
to
change
keep that in
directions
mind
coming
to
in
know
now.
whether or
Sure
not it
has.
needs to be a tag, or
Ground ball
if
to
you
first.
can
Howard
just
steps
tag
on
the
the bag,
base.
throws to
without
second,
committing
and in
to
time to get Ethier. Rollins anticipated where that throw was going to be.
Ryan did a nice job of tagging the bag and making a strong throw. The throw was on the left side of the bag, but Jimmy Rollins made a nice quick tag. I find it interesting to see how.
So on this play, the first baseman tags first base and the batter runner is out. And so it is no longer a forced play at second, and you need to have a tag, and the tag is applied and they get a double play. It's just not the way you usually think of a infield double play. The batter runner was put out first, and then the runner from first, R1, was tagged out at second base for the second out. So just keep that in mind in terms of what happens on a force play. All right, Jim's going to
Well, I'm going to cover runner leaving early, and runner leaving early is somewhat unique to Little League. So if you're not that familiar with what this rule is, really do pay attention to this. When the pitcher is in contact with the pitcher's plate and he has the ball, and the catcher is in the box ready to receive delivery of the ball, I think of that facing forward, their helmet on, and actually down in the crouch. That's ready to receive the ball. When those two conditions are met, then the base runners shouldn't leave their bases until the ball's been delivered and it reaches the batter. However, and this is a big however, it only takes effect when the action, the continuous action of the ongoing play has stopped. And where you'll see this a lot is in minors. A kid may get a walk, and the coach will have him run right through first base and keep running all the way to second base. Just because you throw the ball to the pitcher and they're standing on the rubber, that play is still happening from the walk. You have to work your defense to make sure that that runner doesn't get to second base. So make sure that you're aware of that. Also, if one runner leaves the base early, it affects all the runners leaving, or it affects all the runners in some way. All right, so the penalty affects all those base runners. All right, and so let's see what happens here on a video.
Another 0-2 pitch in the dirt, breaking for the plate, and safe at home plate.
Some kind of the red flag over there on first base, and that's what gets thrown out there if they thought the base runner left too early.
Unless they conference and decide to change the call, but I can't imagine they would.
Oh, it's absolutely the right call, too.
Very much so.
Absolutely the right.
A good spot.
That was very obvious with that runner being off of first base. And we didn't need slow motion to see that. The umpire was in good position in the A position to see that. And in that play, because the runner left early, that runner on first, the runner who scored from third base, that runner had to retreat back to the third base. The run was taken off the board. All right. So what happens when there's a runner leaving early? Well, it's a delayed dead ball. If the batter doesn't hit the ball, the runners are permitted to continue. If a play is made on the runner and the runner's out, the out stands. If a play is made on the runner and the runner's safe, then that runner must return to the base occupied before the pitch. No outs result. And remember, it's not all runners must return to their base in this situation. If the batter hits the ball, base runners are allowed to continue. If a play is made and a runner is out, the out stands. If a play is made and no runners are out, the runners must return to their original base or the unoccupied base nearest the one that was left. So if you've got a runner on first base and they leave early, the batter runner hits a single, or the batter hits a single, and the runner that was on first gets to third base, you're going to push that runner back to second base because it was an open base. The umpire is also going to determine the base value of the hit ball. There's also a special rule in Little League. It's called the poof play. This is for when bases are loaded. If the batter bunts or hits a ball within the infield or advances on an uncaught third strike, the batter reaches first base safely, then each runner advances a base, but the runner that was on third base is just removed. There's no out recorded. There's also no run that scores. So very special situation. Once again, bases are loaded, and we have a runner leaving early. All right, so this is going to be first of our votes. Everybody get ready to watch the poll that comes up here. We're going to have a situation here. We have a runner on first and a runner on third and no outs. Runner on first, they break for second base as the pitched ball is halfway between the mound and home plate. That pitched ball bounces in the dirt and gets past the catcher. The runner on third breaks for home and is safe, and the runner on first, he is safe at second base. So your options are R3, the R3 score stands, and R1 is safe at second since the ball bounced in the dirt. The R3 score stands, but R1 is out for leaving early. The R3 score stands, but R1 must return to first. Or R3 and R1 must return to third and first because R1 left early. So let's see how the votes come in. Wow, we had great results on that. I think we're going to take that poll off. You guys are probably seeing me share that poll. But our poll results were quite good. Nice job. 68% of you got it right. But that is the right thing. It's option 4. The action of one runner affects all runners. We just push them back to their bases that were occupied at the time of the pitch because there were no outs reported and the ball was not put into play. All right. Base awards for a ball thrown out of play. We award 2 bases on throws on a batted ball. If it's the first play by an infielder, then they get 2 bases from the time of pitch. Okay, that's why the second play by an infielder or the first play by an outfielder, 2 bases from the time of the throw. Okay, so if let's say we got a runner on first base, ground ball, they try to turn a double play. And by the time they actually throw that ball to first base, the batter runner has already gone past first base and they throw the ball out of play. The award isn't to put the runner on first base or on second base. It's the award is to put the batter runner on third base because that's 2 bases on the second play by an infielder. Now, thrown out of play by a pitcher, it's a 1 base award on a pitched ball or a pickle play or a pickoff play, excuse me. when the pitcher's in contact with the pitcher's plate. We don't see a lot of this in majors and minors. When you get up into intermediate and juniors, you see a lot more pickoff plays, but every once in a while there may be an attempt at a pickoff by a pitcher. If they're in contact with the pitcher's plate, then it's a one base award if the ball goes out of play. If they step off, then throw the ball out of play, they're just like any other fielder that throws the ball out of play, and it's a two base award. Okay, those are base awards.
All right, we're going to go on to talking about interference and obstruction. They are related to one another, but they are each their own thing. Usually the defense obstructs and the offense interferes, but there are some exceptions to that interference part. But let's look at some definitions here, or the difference between these two. So we're wanting to think about who has the right of way. It's kind of like driving. If you're out there taking your driving test, you need to know who has the right of way, which car. Well, on the ball field, it's the same way. The batter has the right of way to swing at the pitch. Otherwise, if the catcher interferes with that, you can have catcher's interference. Once the ball is put into play on a batted ball, it's the fielder who has the right of the way to field that ball. And so it can be either the batter or the runner might interfere with the fielder fielding a batted ball. And so and then the runner now, unless the fielder is fielding a batted ball, they have the right of way to advance without being obstructed. So the fielder might get in their way, and that would be fielder obstruction. So think about just those are those differences. We're going to talk about obstruction first. And with obstruction, if the fielder does not have possession of the ball, and if they impede the progress of any runner, they don't have to make contact. They just need to be in their way, impede them, make them slow up, change their path from what they would normally want to do. And so even in Little League, a fake tag is considered obstruction. For instance, if a runner started at first base and the ball was hit out into right field and they have a chance to go for third base, but the shortstop goes and does a very convincing pantomime of having that ball and faking a tag, and they slow up and they slide in any way, that's obstruction. And when we were talking about the baseline earlier, if the fielder doesn't have the ball, then they cannot be in the way of that base runner running. They have a right to their baseline. They have a right to their base path anywhere that they're going to go to run, unless the fielder has the ball. So that's obstruction. And now there is an important difference between the Major League, that's what MLB is in this slide, and what the Little League rule is. So Major League Baseball has an extra line in there. They talk about fielding the ball or having possession. Little League took out the fielding the ball line. And so in order to obstruct in Little League, you are to be free from being called for obstruction, you have to have the ball in your possession. That means you can block the base, you can block the base path if you have the ball. But if you don't have the ball in your possession, then you can be guilty of obstructing. If you are in the way, if you are impeding that base runner in any way, you can be called for obstruction. So just be aware of that rule has changed a little bit. There are two types. We have type A and type B, and those are named after the rules in the rule book. It talks about type A in the first part of this rule, rule 7.06. It's type A if a play is being made on the obstructed runner. So if they're actively putting a trying to put a tag on them. For instance, in a rundown, that would be an example of type A if there's obstruction during a rundown. It also is enforced if the batter runner is obstructed before making first base. And so that's a special case. Type A is, we treat it a little bit differently. It's an immediate dead ball, and there's automatic base awards that the obstructed runner is awarded at least one base beyond the base last legally touched, but it's still umpire's judgment as to where to place the other runners. So immediate dead ball, that means time, that's obstruction, you that base, you that base, you award the runners their bases that they need to have. So we contrast that, or no, here we have a play. And let's watch this video from the World Series.
It's going to get all the way to the wall. Let's see if that speed from Osborne will pay off. He's being waved in. Here he comes. Play at the plate. Collected at the plate. Safe at the plate. He's calling him for blocking him, and he's giving him home plate.
Blocking. So we're going to see this again.
He's going to call obstruction, but I don't know how you do that on that play when he was going for the ball.
He was going for the ball.
All right.
That was a great play by Austin Peretti.
Right. Going for the ball in Little League
the fielder has the right
doesn't
to
mean
go
anything.
get the ball.
The answer
Did he have
is
the ball?
the
He did
runner
not.
is safe. Obstruction by catcher. And here's why. Whereas major.
Go ahead and explain it, Mark.
Okay. Well, we had this lovely thing in the video, but so basically you can see in this case, and the umpire's right on top of it, that before the catcher has the ball, he has moved into the path of that base runner. He doesn't get the ball until the runner has already been impeded. In fact, the runner is like making contact with him as that ball is arriving. So very clearly that runner did not have the opportunity to get to the plate, and he was blocked by a fielder without the ball. So that is the call of obstruction, and he is awarded the base that he was going to. It was type A obstruction because they're making a play on him, and so it's an immediate dead ball. And if there were any other runners, they would be placed according to umpire judgment. So that's type A obstruction.
The other thing about that video is the announcers, they didn't get it right. And you'll notice that on Major League Baseball is that the announcers oftentimes don't get some of these more complicated plays right. So that's why it's really important to know the rules.
Yep, very much. So, the Giants announcers are maybe a little better than some of the others, but all right. Here is another situation. I think this is a rundown. So let's watch what happens on this.
Boy, run him, get him going. There you go. Now put it on him. All right, Torrey. Now, what's he gonna say?
He ran into a guy
grabbed
without the
it.
ball.
He grabbed him. What? What in the world are you doing, darling?
Torrey knows he probably got away with one here.
So in this rundown, it's not a pickle, by the way. It is called a rundown. At the end, the first baseman, 32, Adam Dunn, gets in Torrey Hunter's way. He does not have the ball. He impedes him. They are making a play on this runner, so it is type A. He gets awarded not the base he was going to, but the base beyond which he is legally last touch, and so he gets awarded second base. So when for you coaches out there and you practice rundowns, you have to make sure that your defensive players know that when they give up the ball, they need to get out of dodge so that they don't get called for obstruction. As an umpire, if I see a rundown, that's what I'm watching for. I'm watching for the runner going more than 3 feet away from the baseline, and I'm watching for the defense obstructing those two things. And then I can have an out even without a tag if they go out 3 feet away from the baseline. or I can have an immediate dead ball and awarding of the next base if I have type A obstruction. So moving on now to type B, which is in 7.06B. Here, the main difference is that there's no play being made on the obstructed runner. This is something happening away from the ball. It is a delayed dead ball. So you can point and say that's obstruction. That would be your call, just to let people know that you did see it, but you let the play out. And at the end of the play, if you feel as the umpire in your judgment that the runner should have made it further than they did, you will impose a penalty that will nullify the act of obstruction. It doesn't have to be any base award. It may have been, hey, he would have gotten to the base that he ended up on. And if the runner actually goes beyond the base the umpire thought that they should have made it to if they hadn't been obstructed, maybe they think, oh, I got obstructed, so I can just try for that next base. Well, if an umpire judgment, the obstruction wasn't bad enough to keep them from getting to that base and they were tagged out, they're out. And so they're running at their own risk. So in this case, it's just an incidental contact or getting in the way away from the play that causes that runner not to be able to get to where they think they should go. So let's watch this play and see what happens. The first baseman, I think, is going to obstruct on this play.
That's the hand that we're all dealt, and there's a shot into right center field. There's Payton, can't get there. A base hit and a good start for the Yankees. Maybe not a good start. Goodbye, Knobloch, one away.
What a play by Jay Payton on the first pitch. Knobloch rarely swings at the first pitch. And now there seems to be a problem.
All right, so as this play goes along,
I think there is interference called on Todd Zeile, the first baseman. If you do not have the ball, you can't get in the way of the runner. Lee Mazzilli argued about it immediately.
Getting hung up a little bit, but
Knobloch taking a fruitful chance, a great play by Jay Payton. But Zeile makes him go around him at first
there's
base.
that first baseman. You see this a lot in Little League. They have no idea where the runner needs to go. They're in the way. The umpire sees it, calls obstruction. In his judgment, it was enough to cause him to be called out, and he gets awarded second base because that's where he would have gotten if the obstruction had not happened. All right. So here is another play from Little League, and this is going to be a pretty major obstruction at first base. The first baseman is one of the biggest offenders in obstruction if they're not being careful, if they're not watching out.
Really good bunt. Nobody at first. Runner, though, is down in front of him. And now he's going to try to go to second base. And he's okay there. I didn't see what happened to Drew Hill. If he ran into a fielder, perhaps?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened.
May have run into R.J. Vashi, so he went down. I think the umpire immediately made a call. But the play continued. You can see the first base umpire getting involved. But, yeah, he ran right into him as Vashi went in to try to field the ball.
All right. So on that play, what would have happened if we didn't have the obstruction? And where do you think the awards should be? So we're going to give you a poll here, and we've got I think two choices. And so it would be runner stays at first base and the runner from first goes to second base, or are you going to award second base and third base on this play? And people are kind of split on this one. Here are the results. It's exactly split. But in this case, you play fantasy baseball in an obstruction award. You say, what would have happened if that obstruction hadn't happened? Well, that throw that ended up in right field means that those runners would have probably kept on going. And so I think the right award would be to give the batter runner second base and R1 third base on that. All right, so those are the two types of obstruction. Type A, if they're making a play on the runner, or if it's before they get to first base, the batter runner, and type B if they're not making a play and the delayed dead ball. So we're going to move on to interference.
Great, and there are two ways of obstructing. There are actually several ways of interfering. We're going to cover catchers, runners, and batters, and starting off with catchers. Catch interference. This is when the catcher interferes with the batter's swing. It's a delayed dead ball. If the ball's not put in play, then the batter is awarded first base. If the ball is put into play and the batter reaches first base and all other runners advance at least one base, then the interference is ignored. It's like it didn't happen. And the manager has the option to take the penalty or the outcome of the play. So maybe they don't want their runner on first. Maybe they'd like to take the run that may have scored on the play. That's catcher interference. Let's see a video that highlights that. And you're gonna do some voting here at the end of this.
Chopped slowly up the first baseline. Gardner scores. Ellsbury is tagged out, and the Yankees lead 3-0, but let's see.
Catcher interference, Michael. Immediately, Ellsbury obviously feels the glove. Watch here. Yep.
Back at the ump.
So, dead ball. Gardner back to third.
All right, so before showing you your voting options, one thing I just want to point out, use an umpire. You're going to use not just your eyes, you're going to use your ears as well. The sound of the bat hitting the catcher's glove is different than the sound of a bat hitting a ball. It's a lot duller, so make sure you're using your ears, not just your eyes. All right, so we had a runner that scored from third on an interference to the batter. The batter did not reach first base. So these are our voting options. Batters awarded first base because of catcher interference and the run scores. That's option 1. Option 2, the batters awarded first base and R3 must return to third base. And number 3, the manager is allowed to take the penalty, which is the award of first base to the batter, and R3 returns to third, or the outcome of the play, which is the batter is out and the run scores. What is your vote? All right, we've got a lot of votes in here, so let's see what we got. So we have half of the people voted for option 3. So 50% voted for option 3, which is the right option. Remember, the manager has the option to take the penalty or the outcome of the play. And oftentimes you may hear the saying, you'll trade an out for a run any day. That's what the manager chose. In this case, they took the outcome of the play, which that run scored from third base, but the batter, even though he was interfered with by the catcher, that out was allowed to stand. Nice job, everybody. All right, interference, runner with a fielder. The batter and runners must avoid fielders who are attempting to field a batted ball or intentionally interferes with a thrown ball. Those are batter interference. It's an immediate dead ball. If the batter interferes, the batter's out and the runners must return to their bases. If a runner interferes, that runner's out and the batter's awarded first base and all other runners are returned to their bases. If you have converging fielders, say two fielders that may have an option on getting the ball, you have to make a decision as to which fielder you're going to protect in this rule. You don't protect all the fielders. You have to choose which one you think has the best chance of fielding that ball. And that's the one you're going to protect from interference. Let's show a video here that highlights
left
that.
and having to reach over, so maybe setting up more down the middle helps.
Big bouncer, tough play. Gregorius has it go off.
Another look, high chopper. Gregorius, the only thing you can think about is barehanding, but that doesn't matter. It was really the collision with Headley, who was legitimately trying to get there to make the play. Lindor at the last minute tries to adjust, but it's incumbent on.
So once again, you as the umpire are going to have to choose which of those two fielders you're going to protect. You can't protect them both. So you have to choose which one you're going to protect. The runner was out in this instance, the runner going between second and third, and the batter was allowed to stay on first base. All right. Remember, we saw this before, runner's baseline. The runner is not out if their action is to avoid that interference. They don't want to get in the way of that fielder fielding the ball. The fielder has the right of way to the ball. So now a runner can also be hit by a batted ball. These are not runner interference rules. They're runner hit by a batted ball rules. It's the responsibility of the runner to not get hit by the ball. They should be taking a look at what's happening with the ball off the bat. It's an immediate dead ball. The runner's called out for being hit by a batted ball, and the other runners are returned to their time of pitch base. That's what TOP stands for, time of pitch base. And the batter is awarded first base. Okay. Got another vote coming up in just a second.
Drafted and signed by the Phillies in 2008. That hits the runner. And the
All right, let's watch that one more time.
Drafted and signed by the Phillies in 2008. That hits the runner. And the
pretty straightforward. All right, let's see what we got here. Our options are R1 is safe at second since the defense was able to get the batter out at a force on first base. R1 is out for interference and the batter is out on a force at first base. R1 is out on interference, the ball is dead, and the batter is awarded first base. Those are our three options. Let's see, give you a moment to vote. All right, we got a lot of votes in here. 3/4 of you chose option 3, which is the right option. The runner that was on first, they're out on the interference or runner hit by a batted ball. The ball's dead and the batter is awarded first base. Nice job. Yeah. Okay, so exceptions, there's always exceptions. So if the batted ball is first deflected off of a fielder and then touches a runner, it's not interference. If a batted ball goes through or by a fielder and touches a runner immediately in back of that fielder, then it's not interference. Now, in making these kinds of decisions, you must be convinced that the ball passed through or by the fielder and that no other fielder had a chance to make a play on the ball. Okay. And by is, you know, within an arm's reach of the player trying to make a play. So let's look at these exceptions. All right. So this is the ball is deflected. All right. We've got a fielder making a play, and that happened rather quick. Let's see that one more time. Ball is deflected, goes off of him and hits the runner. Runner's not out. The ball goes through the legs. That runner is not out. Or it's the ball goes by. It's within a arm's reach of the fielder and then hits the runner. Runner's not out. All right. Now, if another fielder could have made a play on the ball after going through or by the first fielder, the runner will be called out. So here's an example. We got one guy, the ball's going by, it's within an arm's reach. It's that runner where there's another player right behind him. That's one of the exceptions where they would be called out. So here, the runner is out because the ball didn't pass an infielder. So remember, it's got to get by one of those fielders. The runner's got to be in back of that for it to be one of those exceptions. All right. So this runner is out. It did not pass an infielder that had a legitimate chance to field the ball. All right. So the ball was not within an arm's reach of a fielder.
So where this would make a difference is if the defense is playing in or if they're playing back. So it is if they're, you know, playing in on a ball and it's going to get through a biome and then hit the base runner. If they're playing back, then it's less likely to happen.
Right. Okay. So here we had a ball that got by the fielder that was in an arm's reach and then hit the runner. That runner is not out. All right, runner interference on a thrown or a batted ball. Now, on a thrown ball, a runner's out only if she intentionally interferes with the throw. And a double play may be called if it's intentional. I looked all through YouTube to find video on this. There's not a lot of video on this because it doesn't happen very often. Runners don't intentionally stick their arms out to knock down balls. You just don't see it that often, but it is there as a rule. On a batted ball, the runner's out if he or she collides or hinders a fielder who's attempting to make a play on the ball, whether it is intentional or not. One thing you as an umpire want to try to realize is you can't judge intent of a player. So you may hear that from coaches. He didn't intend to do that. It doesn't matter. You know, you're not judging intent. Now, this includes a deflected ball that is within a step and a reach of a fielder, by the way. Okay. Let's see some video.
Oh, throw to first base, and it hits Jung Ho Kang.
Well, who was he throwing this to?
And Jung Ho.
Ball hit hard, diving stop, and Segura's throw hits Fowler and goes into foul territory.
The shot we had of
Romine throws to third to hit the wall.
wow.
Let's hope Vogt is okay. Now
Drive to right center field. It's down for a hit. Nunez will round second, head to third. Chisenhall's throw is not in time. It hits Nunez and runs toward home plate.
Sogard, a line drive, caught at second, throw back to first, and Franson missed it, and it goes into the dugout. And that is a huge break for the A's.
All right, here is one with intentional.
Ground ball to Gordon. The quick flip for one. And the ball gets away. And let's see whether, yeah, they're going to call interference on Segura. Protesting, reviewing. Here's the feed. And as Rojas turned with the hand up, Segura interfered with the throw. No doubt about that.
Those are some great examples. Yeah. Remember, in Little League, some of the throwers are not very accurate. So you may see runners get hit with thrown balls. So be aware of it. It's not their fault, that the runner's fault that the throw is errant. All right, batter interference. Batter's out for illegal action when they're interfering with the catcher's fielding or throwing by stepping out of the batter's box, making any other movement that hinders the catcher's actions at home plate for the catcher's attempt to play on a runner, or failing to make a reasonable effort to vacate a congested area when there's a throw to home plate and there's time for the batter to move away. And we'll see that a lot in Little League. That last one, where if there's a play happening at home plate, maybe on a pitch in the dirt, and the batter won't vacate the home plate area. They've got to do that. So let's watch the stepping out of the batter's box video. So I'm sorry, the sound's not particularly good on that, but you could see that the actions of that batter was to step right into the line between the catcher fielding the ball and the play at home plate. So that batter is out, or that's batter interference. Let's watch another one.
That's the reason that rule is ridiculous. Right there. Come on, Blue.
You don't know her. She's the last person that would do that on purpose.
So I expose that to you because sometimes making the right call isn't the popular call with the people in the stands. Don't be afraid to make the right call. All right, that was the right call. That batter stepped right into the line of the third baseman's throw to third base.
He's going to be called out because Suzuki made contact with Peralta, who leaned over the plate area.
Runner goes now. The pitch is swing and a miss. And on the backswing, that caught Bobby Wilson. And they're going to call the runner out. So Ortiz strikes out.
Fall in front a little bit of the plate. And it looked like Soto was ready to throw, and then he...
Well, now he's signaled to be out. Did he run out of the baseline?
For interference. And now Brian Price wants to make sure that is a call.
So in that montage, we saw a few different kinds of interference from the batter. We saw them swinging and their momentum carrying them over the plate, which hindered the catcher's ability to throw accurately to second base on an attempted steal. We saw follow-through bat on a swing that hit the catcher that impeded their ability to make a throw. We saw a couple of plays where the batters became spectators and we're watching the play, the ball right around home plate instead of vacating the area. All of those are batter interference. All right. Got a bit of a trick one for you here on this boat. All right, so let's watch the video.
Out. Luke Maley is up. The runner goes for third. It's a called strike. The throw hit the batter in the midsection, and down goes Maley.
All right. Our vote. Batter's out for interfering with the catcher's throw. The batter's not out since he did not move. All right. Let's see what we get. All right. Great job. We've got 67% that went with option 2. The batter's not out since he didn't move. That's the correct call on that one. That batter, you know, he's occupying the batter's box. He didn't move in a way that interfered with the catcher's ability to make that throw. The catcher just made a really bad throw. So that option 2 is the right one. Nice job.
Jim, the key there is whether or not the ball gets by the catcher. If the ball is in the catcher's hand, that batter should just stay put in the box and not move, and the catcher should throw around them. But the ball gets by the catcher, then that batter needs to get out of the way to make sure that they're not interfering.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark. Yeah. Right.
Williams hit above 400 the last 400 season. It was DiMaggio that was named the MVP. Nick Ahmed swings at the first Maeda pitch. And A.J. Ellis runs into the back of Ahmed. And it will be interference on Nick Ahmed as Ellis went out to field that ball. And Ahmed was in his way. The fielder has the right of way to field a batted ball. The onus is on the runner to get out of the.
Yeah. All right. So once again, you know, the batter was playing spectator on that and interfered with the catcher's ability to get to the ball.
Yeah, I just have a hard time giving the Dodgers the benefit of the doubt on anything, but they were right in that one case. All right, so we're going to go on to the some of the base running rules that we talk about, and this is the slide or attempt to go around rule. You hear sometimes that he's got to slide, he's got to slide. Well, in Little League, there is no must slide rule. But listen to the exact wording of this rule. This is 708A, number 3. Any runner is out when the runner does not slide or attempt to get around a fielder who has the ball and is waiting to make the tag. So the conditions there, the fielder has to have the ball and they have to be waiting to make the tag. At that point, it's important for the runner to either give themselves up or try to go around. That doesn't mean they have to succeed at getting around. That doesn't mean that it doesn't say they have to avoid contact. They just have to be trying to get around that fielder. If they just run into them, even if the ball comes out, they're going to be called out if the fielder has the ball and is waiting to make the tag. But if those are not, those conditions are not satisfied, then you're going to call the play based on just what's actually there. So ball in possession, waiting to make the tag. You can slide, you can attempt to get around, and even leaping over the fielder is allowed in Little League, although it's not recommended. But the best thing they can do, hey, I'm dead to rights, I should just give myself up. It's not a time for you to try to plow into that fielder. But at no point are you required to slide. You just have to either attempt to get around or give yourself up. So here is a play. Think about what's happening here. Okay, let's go back. And go ahead and play the video. So that's a very painful play to watch. The base runner lowered his shoulder, plowed into the catcher. But did the catcher have the ball, and was he waiting to make the tag? He was not. Did the runner slide or attempt to get around? No, he did not. So you can have somebody safe and ejected on the same play. And that's the call that I would make in this situation. It did not satisfy the requirements to be called out on that play, because the catcher did not have the ball already and he wasn't waiting to make the tag. Had he gotten the ball half a second earlier, I would have an out on this. But I would have a safe and I would have an ejection. And then that's the way that I would rule on this. Right? It's tough, but that's what that calls for. All right, an appeal play is the act of the fielder claiming a violation of the rules by the offensive team. Very often this is a missed base or needing to tag up, those kinds of things. And the defense does this in a way that lets the umpire know that they are claiming a violation and that the umpire needs to make a call based on this situation of an appeal play. So we have some examples of that. So failure to tag up on a batted fly ball that's caught, touch a base while advancing or returning. And remember that if you touch a base and you need to touch a base and you need to return, you have to touch it when you're going backwards too. So if you overrun second base and you need to return to first, you have to touch it while you're going back. Otherwise, you could be called out on appeal. If you overrun or overslide first base and you fail to return to that base immediately, you can be appealed on that play. And if you fail to touch home plate and you don't come back to try to rectify that, like if you go into your dugout, they don't have to chase you into the dugout to make an appeal. They can just tag home plate and say he missed the base, and the umpire, if he did, then would call that runner out. So these are the situations that we have for appeal plays. I mean, the one that happens the most often is the tagging up on a fly ball.
Hey, Mark, there is a question in the chat room I think we should bring out in the open here. The question from Tom is, can you make one of these calls without an appeal? And
the answer is no. You need an appeal to do this. So if somebody, like they miss second base while they're rounding, you can't call them out unless the defense appeals that they missed second base and they properly do it. So an appeal play requires extra effort on the defense to make it happen. So a little more information coming up on this. So here's what's required to make an appeal. It has to be done before the next pitch, play, or an attempted play. And so if you forget to do the appeal, you throw a pitch, and then you say, oh, by the way, that guy missed the base last time, you've lost your chance to appeal. You have a window in which to make an appeal. The ball has to be live. If you call timeout, the ball has to be made live again. You can't have a dead ball appeal in Little League or any level of baseball. And the appeal itself is not meant, or is not to be interpreted as a play, so that if they make an appeal on one runner, they still can make an appeal on a different runner if there's one that is live and possible. So you don't, by making one appeal, you don't lose a chance to make maybe a second or even a third appeal if it's really complicated play. But it also has to be very clear. It can't be just that you accidentally stepped on the base with the ball that somebody missed and you say, oh, he missed that and he's going to call it out. the an appeal of on a fly ball of somebody leaving early, that's obvious. The umpire's going to know what they're doing. But on a missed base, on some other kind of thing, or if it's a runner misses home plate and then immediately tries to come back to correct that, that's obvious. But on a lot of these things, you're going to need to have a verbal clarification of what they are appealing. So they're going to, and if there's multiple runners, you need to have that made clear too. So if the ball is dead, you need to make it live. You need to have the defensive players on the field. So if it was something happened on the third out and everybody leaves, they need to come back on. Pitcher on the mound with the ball, plate umpire puts the ball back in play. And you don't have to have a batter for this to make the ball live. But it's very important that the pitcher step off with his pivot foot. He's disengaging the rubber so that it's not to be interpreted as a pitch, but he steps off because you don't want to have an illegal pitch or a balk in the upper divisions. That's going to negate the appeal that is going to be interpreted as a play. So you're going to throw to the base or you're going to tag the runner and you tell the umpire what they're appealing. And the ball is live. And so if there's other runners, the risk is they might take off and run and they might gain some advantage. They can run at their own risk. And if they take off running and they start to make a play on that runner before they actually complete the appeal, they lose their chance to make the appeal. So I think we have a video of a play, and it's important for coaches to coach their players so that they know exactly what to do, because it's real easy to screw it up and miss your chance to do an appeal.
See a pitch coming from Andrew White.
So let's watch the team from Petaluma.
Score 2 runs and the tying run. Young will be at second. Do score. Hey, did he miss third? You weren't looking? Did you think he did?
I thought he
Who?
did.
Which one? Which one? The first guy or the second guy?
No, not the first guy.
Which one? The second guy? Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to step off, and you're going to, when he says play, you're going to step off, you're going to throw it to Cole, nice and easy, and you're going to say that the second runner missed the bag. And they call him out, and the game's over! Did he miss it or not? Wow.
So that umpire saw that happen. He didn't say anything. He stored it in his memory bank when they made the proper appeal after the ball was made live. And he was ready to make that call when they properly appealed that. So you're watching for touches, you're watching for tag ups, and this is why. All right. We also have a thing called batting out of turn. Sometimes we say batting out of order. You have a batting order, and we know everybody should be in the proper batting order. We have what's the proper batter is the person who should be batting. An improper batter is somebody who bats out of turn. They're in the wrong spot. And they're, but an improper batter, if he gets, once they throw a pitch to the next batter, that improper batter becomes legalized. And they then are treated as the proper batter. So there's a couple of pages in the rule book that show this, a whole bunch of different situations, and they have the batting lineup and everybody's name starts with the next letter of the alphabet to help you kind of figure that out. So here's a couple of things to remember. So if before the improper batter becomes a runner or is retired, this means that the offense can catch themselves and they can say, oh, wait a minute, we have the wrong guy up there. We're going to put the proper batter up, and they're going to, but that proper batter has to resume the count. So any pitches that were thrown to the improper batter count, but then proper batter may come up and he might have a 2-strike count, but they're not going to call out the the person who should be batting in that case, because the offense corrected their mistake. But if let's see, okay, when an improper batter becomes a runner or is retired, and before the pitch to the next batter of either team or before any play or attempted play, if the defensive manager says, wait a minute, we've got a batting out of order, and they catch it properly in that window before the next pitch or play, then the person who should have been batting, the proper batter, is the one that is called out. If any of the other base runners have advanced because of the batted ball by the improper batter, or because they walked or were on a hit by a pitch or otherwise got to first base, that's all going to be nullified. And those people are going to move back. That's going to be nullified. And the proper batter is the one that is called out. And then we would then play on with the person who should be there. Now, if there are advances that were not because of the batted ball by the improper batter, like a stolen base, a wild pitch, pass ball, they get to keep those bases because that was not as a result of anything that the improper batter did. So there's a distinction there. And now if that improper batter finishes their at bat, they either get on base or they are called out, and then a pitch is made to the next batter, then that improper batter becomes the proper batter. They're legalized and it becomes legal, and the batting order continues from that legalized batter. So it's a little complicated, but you have to just think of the key of the person who is called out is the person who should have been batting, the proper batter. But once they become legalized, then we have a new batting order that takes up from where that person batted. Spend some time in the rule book and look at all the different examples and think about all the different things that can happen in a batting out of turn situation. But it sounds complicated. I had one game where the same team batted out of turn 4 times and they couldn't quite get it right. It was a nightmare game. They got better. The next game, they didn't have any batting out of turns. And so I was glad about that. All right, Jim's going to talk about game management.
Yeah, so that covers our rules for the most part. I mean, there's some rules that we didn't cover. We encourage you to look through your rule book. We'll get you some information about resources in just a moment that you can get access to quite easily to help you with getting more knowledge about the rules. But one important part about effective umpiring is managing the game. So for the plate meeting, umpires and managers should meet about 5 minutes before the scheduled start time. If it's a 12 o'clock game, don't show up at 12. Show up at 11:55. Get your plate meeting done before the scheduled start time. If you have 2 youth umpires, the league should be assigning a game coordinator to the game as well. Players, offense and defense, should all be in the dugout. You should not have your plate meeting with the offense on the field. They should be in their dugouts. There's a simple acronym that I encourage you to memorize: legs, lineups, equipment, ground rules, and sportsmanship, right? That's what the leg stands for. Lineups. Rule 601, the player name, not their number, sets the batting order. So if Johnny is in the leadoff batter, and Johnny's written into that slot, and he's actually he's number 2, but they've written number 12, well, he's not batting out of turn. If the number is secondary to the player name, as long as the name is in the right spot on the batting order. Equipment. Players must not wear jewelry. You as a umpire are going to keep it simple, though. You're just going to say, Coach, are your players properly and legally equipped to play? And then you're going to turn to the next coach and ask the same question. You will ask them a second time if they do not give you a simple yes response. All right. So if they say something like, well, I sure hope they are, ask it again. Coach, are your players properly legally equipped to play? G stands for ground rules. So you'll just go over the ground rules for the field that you're on. And S stands for sportsmanship. Some people use S for safety. So those are just a reminder about looking for sportsmanship from the players, coaches, spectators, and that you're certainly going to get it from your umpire crew. Get through this thing in 2 minutes or less. Plate meetings should be quick and to the point. They should not take long, okay? The lineup card that you receive, and I think some people may, right now there's no rule in Little League that says, that I've seen, that says we're not exchanging lineup cards. Your local league may have a more restrictive safety policy about lineup exchanges, which would mean that the home or the official book, whoever that is probably the home team. They're going to be the official record of the lineup in that case. But for a Bat 9 lineup card, when you get it, this is the best way for it to be filled out. It should have the starting 9 listed at the top, with at least a designation of who the pitcher and catchers are to start. And then the substitutes should be listed below, not to the right of the starters. And this is a pretty typical scorecard that we're looking at here, where it's got this column called substitutes. And oftentimes what you may get handed from the coach is, the substitutes listed at the top. Just let the coaches know, hey, coach, next time, please fill these out with your substitutes listed at the bottom, because you're going to write in the substitute names against the player positions as the game unfolds. And it'd be nice if they designated their ineligible pitchers as well. That's what a Bat 9 lineup card should look like. Warming up. Warm-up pitches between the half innings. This is really, really important. There is 1 minute allowed for the warm-up pitches, and that starts at the time the third out is made in the prior half inning. So it's a maximum of 8 warm-up pitches or 1 minute. And if they take their time getting out onto the field, then cut down on the number of warm-up pitches. I've given as few as 3. I won't give less than 3, but I will give 3 if they're really taking their time to get out there. And if we follow this strictly, that's no more than 12 minutes of total between inning warm-up time in a 6-inning game. That may not seem like a lot, but just, think about this. If we're now taking 2 minutes in the half inning, that's 24 minutes that we're not playing baseball. And 2 minutes may not seem like that long in between any one half inning, but if you do it every half inning, then it really adds up. 3 minutes in minors, it happens a lot. That can be a lot of non-playing time. And especially, a lot of leagues have a game time, hour and 45 minutes. So we really want to make sure we're playing baseball and not killing time in the half inning. Ways that you can speed up the half inning. For the team that's going to hit, coaches, talk to the team in the dugout, not outside the dugout. Get them in the dugout, and then you can talk to them all you want inside there. Make sure that the leadoff batter is getting ready, though. All right. That person's got to be getting their helmet and getting their bat and getting ready to go. Substitutes. While on offense, they're announced when the sub comes to bat or is on base. All right. They should not be announced in advance of them coming to their time at bat. For teams going on defense, get that pitcher should be warming up with a properly equipped player ASAP. And a properly equipped player is a legal catcher's helmet and catcher's glove. So they need to be, and that doesn't need to be the catcher, just can be any player with a catcher's helmet and a catcher's glove. Minimize the team huddles, get them on the field. So I see this all too often where the coaches get them outside the dugout door and wants to get a big rally cheer going before he sends them on the field. That's eating into their 1 minute of time to get the pitcher warmed up. Substitutes. The coaches should be letting the umpire know their subs when the pitcher's earlier in their warm-ups, not when they're done with their warm-ups. So you want to get those subs early. Adults on the field. Only 1 manager and 2 coaches in majors and 3 coaches in minors are allowed in the field or the dugout. There must be 1 adult in the dugout at all times. This is regardless of whether the team is at bat or is on defense. Adults shall not warm up pitchers. That's either on the field or in the bullpen. Adults don't do it. Not in Little League. And managers and coaches must stay in the dugout while their team is on defense. There is an exception in T-ball and minors. Coaches may be on the field for instructional purposes, but you really have to make sure that you're limiting what the coaches can do, especially in minors. The rules allow for it. I tell the coaches, 1 coach on the field within arm's distance of the dugout. You don't want them wandering around. Certainly no buckets. They can't be sitting down. They need to be mobile. They can't be having other equipment on the field that may get in the way of the players.
Real quick, Jim, a point about at least 1 adult in the dugout. Sometimes a team does not have all their coaches there. So if they're short 1 coach and they've just got a manager and 1 coach, they cannot have 2 adult base coaches because that would put both of them out on the field and no adult in the dugout. So just remind that team that they're going to need to have a player base coach if they're short an adult, or if they only have 1 adult, then they're going to have 2 player base coaches that are going to have helmets on and be out there for base coaches. But you need to have that adult in the dugout, and you need to be watching for that.
So those are just some tips on how to effectively manage the game. And last, we wanted to expose you to some other resources that you can access. Last week, we talked about the Little League Rulebook app. It's available on Google Play and the Apple, the App Store. In it, you're going to find rules, regulation, rule interpretation videos, and case plays. And case plays are great. There's things like the videos and the voting that we've just gone through. It makes you think about, how am I going to apply the right rule to what I just saw or what I'm reading about here? So that's one resource for you. On the littleleague.org website, there is a whole section that there's a pull down menu on there that starts with parents, but there's a whole section on umpires. And in that, you're going to find training resources, videos of past webinars, rules and mechanic instruction videos, especially if you have not had a chance to get mechanics instructions, go to that website and look at the mechanics. We're not having D44 mechanics clinics this year, and we're not sure if your leagues are going to have them either. So that is a resource for you to look at to learn some of the proper Little League mechanics. So where do you position yourself? Where do you move? And how do you move? There's umpire tips and tricks, such as your umpire uniform and how to conduct a proper pregame. And there's links to the Little League umpire registry. I'll talk about that one in just a second. This, tips and tricks on the umpire uniform. There's umpire gear sites. These are just 4 of them. There's the shoplittleleague.org website. Honig's, Jerry Davis, Umpatire. Those are just a few of the umpire gear options out there for you to go and buy equipment. Your league may have equipment. In this COVID-19 era, if you're going to be behind the plate, I would highly recommend having your own face mask. If you have one piece of equipment that you're going to buy for yourself this year, buy your own face mask. And then the last resource we'll point out to you is the umpire registry at littleleagueumpire.org. A lot of the same stuff that we saw in these other ones, but these have live and recorded webinars. So there's a schedule of events that are coming up, and rule interpretations, mechanics trainings videos, casebook explanations, and there's a link to the Little League web store on there as well. So those are just some of the resources that you have at your disposal, that in terms of additional instruction, but also where to get some gear. And I think with that is the end of our scheduled content for tonight, Mark. I think we are going to still hang on here for a little bit afterwards and answer any questions. We'll open up the mic and talk to anybody about any questions about what we covered tonight, what we covered last week, or maybe anything that we haven't talked about.
That's great. Thank you, Jim, for all your work on this and for putting together the slides. I will mention that in terms of mechanics training, we've made the offer to individual leagues that if they want to host a small socially distant umpire clinic, that we would be glad to help them. We just are, because of COVID, not able to have 60 or 70 people gathered together like we would usually for our district umpire mechanics clinics. So we're looking at doing that. We want to get the training. The leagues are thinking that by the middle of April, the games are going to get started. So we still have a little bit of time, but there's a lot of resources available there online as well. Want to make sure that you look like an umpire so that you are equipped. You've got a good jersey. You're wearing gray slacks and not jeans or shorts, that you command respect by looking the part of the umpire. If you're a catcher and you've got a catcher's helmet, you can use that to umpire with. And that would avoid having to use other people's gear, but just we want to make sure that all that gear is sanitized as best that we can so that we can keep people safe. Also keep in mind that we have this recorded, and so it'll be available on YouTube, so you can watch this video. You can also watch the video from last week, and we're glad that to answer questions, and my email address is out there on the District 44 website. That's cad44.org, and you can contact me through that website, either through the contact option, or my website or my email is listed under the district board. Be glad to answer any questions that people have. So thank you for attending, and we will see you out on the field. Let your umpire scheduler know that you have done this training and that you're ready to go, and that you want to definitely get out there on the field and call some games as soon as you can.